Now, I've been watching a lot of adult animation lately, and usually when I watch something like Mr. Pickles or Paradise PD, there is one show that is suggested more than any other, and that is Drawn Together, and the only thing that I can think of for why that would be is probably because this show leans heavily on the vulgar side of it.
No, bro! You ignorant fat ass! You know who else doesn't know anything about shows? My mom! But also you, bro! Drawn Together is one of the greatest cinematic experiences, bro!
Sorry about that, guys. The succubus is never supposed to get out. He's just supposed to stay in his milking unit. He's not supposed to give me opinions, but he's right. I should go into this show looking at it from a biased point of view, and in all actuality, I know nothing about Drawn Together. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. All I want to know is this show good or bad? Is it so bad that it's good? Did it deserve to be on the air even longer? What is this show even about? Because I've only really seen the art style, and honestly, it looks like the writer was having too much fun drawing the characters so that he could have his good old-fashioned goon session at the end of the night. But hey, I don't know. So today I'm going to be taking a look at Drawn Together and discussing is it good or bad. And if you like content just like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. I upload almost every single day and you don't want to miss it. And if you want a place where you can talk about your favorite games, movies, and shows, my Discord will be in the description. Now let's finally take a look at Drawn Together. The first episode I decided to watch was Clum Babies, and oh my god, hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I think I finally found the show, okay? I've watched Mr. Pickles, Paradise PD, and Brickleberry, shows that rely heavily on shock humor. That's their entire thing. Throw a dart at the dartboard, if it misses, no! And then just pick it up and throw it again, hoping that you'll land on something. This show does the same exact thing, but the one thing that this show has over the others is, one, the art style actually looks really good. The voice acting is on point, and the characters actually feel like they matter. All of the other characters, they felt like they were just trying to get on my nerves in those shows. These characters, they're actually doing some funny shit, telling some funny jokes, they're actually rolling with it, and they're all very interesting in their own right. There's a Pokemon, a fox chick, a princess, a Captain Hero. They're all very different, but it makes it really interesting. So for this to be my first impression of the show, I think we knocked it out of the park. It opens with, they're kind of doing like a TV thing. I don't know if this is pertains to every single episode, where they like have like interviews and they're talking about what's going on. The producers of the show, they made us have to go out to this pool that was full of animals, and we had to whatever animals we got out of the pool we could have for dinner because we're all starving. And this one character, I think her name is Toot, she looks a lot like Betty Boop. She walks over and she starts, it's my soup, just slurping it all up, which I thought was really funny.
Get your own damn soup!
You know, nothing too crazy to talk about there, but then they all go inside because they hear things, and there's this character named, Wooldoer, I think, or Wooldoer, let me look it up real quick. Yellow guy in Drawn Together, so the comment section doesn't eviscerate me, put me on top of a steak and burn me. Wooldoer, he's this little yellow guy. They walk in there, and he's just pumping a toaster. Just like, oh yeah, I just can't resist.
Stop pumping!
Which genuinely made me laugh because I was not expecting that at all. The toaster even climaxes, it produces its waffles, so good for him. And so he's just pumping the toaster, and then the fox chick, I don't know her name, I'm sorry, I'll learn it by the end of the video, I promise. She's the fox chick, that's all you need to know, she has a foxtail. She walks up and she's, well, like, cluck me a chicken, I'm under something, she says monkey, about him, you know, jorking his pork, and then the princess girl, she walks over and she's like, oh, so it's okay for you to say monkey, and then she just shocks her, she just pulls out her remote and shocks her, and she collapses.
Fine when you say it.
And I know, like, describing it doesn't understand how, like, shocking and funny it is, but it works so well. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Why did she shock her? Oh my god. So they start talking to Woldor about his problem. And they're like, oh man, you need to chuck that chicken. You need to just pound that thing, jork your pork, and release all that tension so that you could feel better. And I thought the episode was gonna lose me with that, but it really doesn't. The princess girl, she starts freaking out and she's like, Gooners will go to hell! Gooners will go to hell! And then she like throws a firebomb and vanishes. I don't know what that was all about, but it's very interesting. And I like that the fox girl, who is clearly like the author author's like goon character. Like they definitely went home at night and were like, yes, I'm so happy I drawed this character. It's exactly what I needed in my show. Just by the way she's drawn, you could just tell what they expected, you know? They went home and they just wrote 34 rules down, and that's the end of it. So yeah, she is the one that's going to explain to Wildor how to take care of his problem, to say the least. But then we also cut to our B plot, which features Ling Ling, this little Pokemon character, and he's unbelievably awesome. He speaks Japanese. At least I think it's Japanese. If it's not Japanese, I apologize. I would assume it is because, you know, he's like a Pokemon. And he's a bit of a player. He goes to clubs. He's just trying to look his best, trying to look fresh for his date at the club, or trying to pull all them biatches. You know, that's his main goal there. So I like Ling Ling. That sets up the B plot pretty well. We then cut to, back to the fox lady showing Wildor what's going on, and she actually gets in bed and starts a goon sesh, starts, you know, rubbing her pudding, to say the least. Just, you know, flicking the bean, you know, getting off. And I thought it was gonna lose me there because I was like, okay, it's just, I don't really want to watch the character just use herself up for a good solid 2 minutes. But oh my god, it just gets so funny. Like initially she's just like, oh, I gotta spice it up. I gotta put some ice cream on it, you know, a little extra flavor just to add something to my usage. And then she's like, oh, and then I just need a little bit of role play, and she's using a fucking jackhammer on it. It's so funny. It catches you so off guard, and she starts using a lightsaber too, just to help with maximum goonage. And dear lord, it just catches you so off guard, but this is some prime shock humor. It pertains to the episode. You don't have to just be like, hey look, it's a penis! No, it's a girl sitting in bed. I can't even see her private part, so I'm not gonna feel any, like, weirdness watching this. I'm not like the author just foaming at the mouth while drawing it. It's just her with a blanket over herself just using a jackhammer on it.
Little role-playing fantasy. Oh, yeah, right.
It's so funny, dude. Oh my god, it's so wild. It's just nothing you could ever expect. She even cooks fried chicken with it. Yeah. That's a bit of a fucked up joke, but still unbelievably shocking to say the least. Just, nothing you could ever really expect. So then we cut back to Ling Ling, who's going to the club, and he's clubbing, and we see this other Pokemon character just come out of nowhere, and we get a little Pokemon battle where they're firing blasts at each other, just hitting each other in the air. And that's pretty cool. Like, I can't lie, I enjoy it, you know? What's wrong with a little Pokemon battle here and there? I mean, it's not Pokemon because they're not slaves, but, you know, they're fighting, and that leads to them, hooking up, which is a very odd concept, but you know, the better the fight, the more they get off on it, which is just, you know, weird on its own. So Wildor has now learned how to goon, and he starts gooning, and it's basically like the SpongeBob version of, you know, York and your pork. Like, it would just be like, ah, oh, I'm doing it, ah, you know, like, he's not actually getting off, but I guess he is, because he starts touching himself, doing weird things to him, and he gives birth to Clum babies. These little, like, white sperm things? Yeah. Okay. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And they can apparently cure illnesses, which we get to this one joke, which I thought was unbelievably funny, where Claire, the princess, she shows up and she shows a kid who is blind because of how much he jorked his pork, used up his meat. And he's blind, and one of the Clum babies climbs on top of him and cures his blindness. And he just immediately is like, I know what I have to do. He grabs petroleum jelly and some tissues and just runs away. And it's so funny, bro.
No.
God. You know, when you watch a bunch of shows that are shock value humor and they're just bottom of the barrel, the jokes don't land, it's just, you know, hoping to make you laugh, and then you go to a show where it feels like they actually have intention of making you laugh behind it instead of just hoping and praying. God, does it feel good. And this feels so unbelievably good. But, you know, it just gets so much worse because Claire is trying to convince Wildor not to keep on producing these Clum babies that could heal everybody, even though they're making a lot of money off of it. So she gets the VeggieTales veggies to come and teach him a lesson about what he should do, and they eventually like go in the back room and they're like repenting their sins, and it's the VeggieTales characters going like, oh no, bro,
I bought too many slaves online.
What? Why were they doing that? I don't think it was actually the VeggieTales characters doing that. It was Claire who was buying that and using slavery as a thing. So that's pretty dang bad, to say the least. But either way, it's pretty interesting. Ling Ling in the B plot meets a arranged marriage other Pokemon creature thing, and they're doing really good. They're liking the battles at first, but then their like romance starts to get a little bit dull, so they just decide instead of battling to get themselves off, they should just actually do the nasty, do the coitus, do the forbidden fruit, the forbidden dance. So they do that, and that pretty much ends that plot line, so that was pretty interesting. And then Claire, she starts dying, and she was initially very against the gooning, the masturbating, and the Clum babies, but now she needs a Clum baby, so they have to try to convince Woldor to not, to not be a part of the VeggieTales Christianity religion. And the way they do this is they kidnap him and put him in the goon chair and just start showing him, you know, whatever that thing is, like decrepit, cryptid Pac-Man looking ass. They start showing him female versions of himself, so he starts producing Clum babies and saves Claire. And the cucumber VeggieTale character walks in and just gets, like, manic. He's like, I cannot have this! No! And he starts killing everybody.
This wasn't part of the plan! We agreed no one would get hurt! Go!
Shooting them all! He kills everybody! Until he eventually is saved by a Clum baby and then he kills himself. But dear lord, I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would watch a cucumber go into a psychosis nightmare and just go around murdering people. But dear lord, that's pretty much the end of the episode. I had such a great time watching this episode. I know it probably wasn't my best description of an episode, but that's just because there were so many different things happening. Like, I have my little notes right here of just, like, key points that I maybe want to talk about, and I wrote so many things, like a little roleplay, a lightsaber inside of the vagina, she cooked fried chicken in it! Yeah, that's just the stuff that I wrote. It's just really unexpected, everything that happened in this episode, and I'm genuinely shocked. But if I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would give it a solid 10 out of 10. That surprised me in so many ways and made me laugh, like belly laughing at so many different things, that I think it worked extremely well. Yes, it's a lot of shock value humor, but it still felt like they were trying to make you laugh like it pertained to the episode, and overall, I enjoyed this thoroughly. The next episode I decided to take a look at was The Other Cousin, and, you know, maybe my hallelujah was a bit too soon, you know, too soon of a judgment to say that the show was the perfect shock humor, because this episode did not do it for me in the same way. Maybe it's because the B plot was just really sad, and the A plot just relied on one joke the entire time pretty much, but some of it was really good. So this episode opens with a guest of the family on their way. So it's all the superheroes and one of their family members is coming. Ling Ling is really hoping that it's going to be their father. We don't know. And we see a carriage. So we assume it's the princess character, Claire. It's going to be related to them. We see a carriage, and I'm going to hell for laughing, man. But the carriage comes around the bend, and it's a short bus.
But when I saw it was the short carriage, my heart sank.
That was just the perfect, you know, just way to hide that joke. I did not see that coming, and that introduces us to Blair, Claire's cousin, who is mentally handicapped, mentally challenged, and we basically just get the same joke over and over and over and over again about her character until we get to a specific point in the episode. It's basically just a bunch of jokes making fun of her intelligence, and, you know, it got a little bit repetitive. Once you heard it for the 90th time, you were just like, yeah, it's just not that enjoyable after a while. So we then cut back to Ling Ling, who is very disappointed that their father didn't show up, and starts extruding this toxin, and these two characters, Toot and this guy, I don't know, they've never said his name once, I'm not gonna look it up, I guarantee you there's gonna be a bunch of people commenting, oh, he doesn't care, he doesn't research, oh my god, it just hurts my fucking being that I know exactly who he's talking about, but just because he doesn't say the name, I'm gonna have an aneurysm. Yeah, so those two characters, they lick and kiss Ling Ling, and they just get high as balls. They start tripping sack. So yeah, they get addicted to that, and that is the B plot of the episode that I really don't like. We then cut to the next day with Blair and Claire just going around, and Claire sees Foxy, and they have this conversation, and just this one sentence is just unbelievably abhorrent. I'm just gonna play it for you.
Is that one of your jive words, like emancipation?
No, blame your cousin.
Yeah, whoever wrote that joke, woo, they gotta be chained up. That was a wild one. That was a pretty wild joke. But we then get a Lord of the Rings reference, which I was all for, where Claire was like, I should have killed Foxy. And they're like, you know, on Mount whatever, God, Mordor? I don't know. They're on the mountain, the Eye of Sauron. And the ring. I'm failing you as a content creator. Claire is trying to get the ring back, and Foxy's hanging, and she's like, I should have killed her there.
Give me your hand!
First, give me the ring!
Oh man, that was rough to get out of me. But either way, I like that joke. You know, W Lord of the Rings reference. What else could you really possibly need? So we then cut to this part of the episode, which I think is just so awful, because Foxy tells Claire that she should start treating Blair like an actual person. So they go down to the pool. And the gents, the guys, they're just sitting there, and they of course start making mentally challenged jokes at Blair until she literally gets naked and she has just a poppin' bod because, you know, the gooner artist of the show is like, I have to make the mentally challenged, the mentally handicapped girl the sexiest woman on the planet. And, you know, they did give her a rockin' body. So all the guys are now obsessed with her, and the main one who is obsessed with her is Captain Hero. He really wants her really bad, and this entire sequence, like, after they stop getting in the pool, I can't show you any of those scenes because she is topless in them, but they go away for the night and Captain Hero really wants her, and while they're having this discussion, the pig, Captain Hero, and Woldor, they're having this discussion, they're playing spin the bottle with each other, and they're just like passionately kissing each other, which is whatever, until Woldor spins the bottle, okay, and he gets excited because it lands on him, and he's like, and then Captain Hero looks him dead in the eyes and is like, hey man, if you're gonna make this gay, then we can't do this, and then gives him like the sexiest, most passionate kiss you could ever give.
If you're gonna be gay about this, you can't play. Sorry.
So yeah, that was kind of funny. It's so random. They're just making out with each other, but they're not allowed to be homosexuals, so that's just odd, but it leads to Captain Hero wanting to go out on a date with, Blair. At the same time, they gather Ling Ling, that being Toot and that one guy, and Woldor joins in on this, and they just start basically abusing him, just making him disappointed over and over and over again so that they could keep licking him to get high, and it's just kind of sad. Like, I like Ling Ling. I thought Ling Ling was fun. Ling Ling is a cool character, and to just watch poor Ling Ling keep getting disappointed over and over again so that they could become junkies just wasn't the most entertaining plotline in the world, at least to me. I wasn't really jiving with it. I wasn't really enjoying myself, to say the least. But we then cut back to Captain Hero, who is going out on a date with Blair because he initially just wants to use her up, but he's going in the limo and he has this realization that she's special, not in a mentally challenged way. Yeah, and so we get to watch this date as it goes on, and they're doing some interesting things to say the least, you know. They're doing some interesting things with each other. It's actually a pretty wholesome date. I'm glad that he, you know, found the value in her beyond just her, you know, physical disabilities, mental disabilities. I'm glad that he was able to overcome that and realize that she is a good person. And, you know, that night ends with, you know, him getting that good old-fashioned. So, good for him, I guess. I don't know what I'm watching. The A-plot isn't really that good. It's just a lot of the same joke over and over and over again. Some of it's disgusting, some of it's great, some of it's wild. I really did like when the date initially started, and he looks at her and he's like, you look stunning, and there's just drool pouring out of her mouth.
You look stunning.
I did enjoy that a lot, but yeah, some of it's a bit over the top for me, to say the least. I don't know. I bet there's some people out here who would really love this. We then cut back to Ling Ling being used up, and they eventually run out of disappointment juice, and they all have to lock themselves in a room and just start being massive junkies. And at the same time, Claire walks into Captain Hero after they had a night of rambunctious shenanigans, to say the least, and sends Bleh on her way, and we have Captain Hero with a bunch of scenes that I can't show because they decided to make a bunch of characters naked in it. He eventually catches up to Bleh, and he's like, "Oh, baby! I love you! You don't have to go anywhere, sweet cheeks! I love you so much, baby," until he starts getting eggs thrown at him, and then he realizes that he doesn't want to be with a person with a disability. So, you know, not the happiest ending out there. And that's pretty much gonna do this episode. This one was definitely not as good as Clum Babies. There was a lot less shock humor, which is why I fell in love with the first episode, which is a very weird sentence for me to say, because usually I like when my jokes are well thought out, well timed, you know, there was build up for them, but this was lacking that. I felt like they just hinged on one single joke, and that was just to make fun of Bleh for her mental disability, and when you do that over and over and over again, it just doesn't hit as hard. You know, the 90th time, it doesn't hit as hard, and at the same time, the B-plot, the joke isn't that funny either, because they're just tormenting this little creature. It's just a torture episode, and because I watched Clum Babies, I really liked Ling Ling. He was a playa, he was getting all the Pokemon bitches, and I got to watch him battle. It was cool. So now watching him just suffer this entire episode, it's just not the most enticing thing, at least to me. So if I was to personally rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid, you know, like 6 out of 10. It definitely had some dull moments and a lot of repeat jokes, but there were some moments where I was genuinely laughing pretty hard. I did like a lot of it, and there were a lot of like subversions and a lot of just, oh my gosh, what is going on moments that I did admire and that I did enjoy. So 6 out of 10 is obviously not a very bad rating. I would say 6 out of 10 is pretty good, you know? It's slightly better than the middle of the road. It's not going to be amazing. It's not going to go down as the best thing ever, but it's not bad. There's nothing horrible to say about it. 6 out of 10 is pretty solid for this one. The final episode I'm going to be taking a look at is Super Nanny, and just let me paint you a picture, okay? You're watching on your little television a nanny. Perhaps it's Nanny McPhee, and she's trying to teach the children how they're supposed to behave, and I don't know, perhaps the children are like beating her with a stick saying, "Get out of here, woman! We don't want you here!" And she's all like, "Oh, no, no, no. Go sit in the corner, you pathetic little runt." And the children learn how to behave, she becomes beautiful, good stuff. You know, just casual nanny movie, casual nanny television, and in this case, they are beginning the episode watching Super Nanny. Except, Captain Hero has a bit of a trigger word. You know how some people have those words where they just start going, just, you know, freaking out a little bit, to say the least. That is his trigger word. If he hears super in front of anything, he starts to lose his mind a little bit. I do love the example of this, where he hears about supermarkets, you know, where you just go to buy things, and he just commits terrorism, just traumatizing hundreds of people at that supermarket and laying waste to it.
You're not so super now.
I thought that was pretty dang funny. I liked that. And then we do have this insane moment where the pig character, he finds out that Ling Ling doesn't have a driver's license, and because Ling Ling is Asian, he has the most bombastic dream you could ever imagine. I'm just gonna play that clip for you.
I've dreamed of escorting an Asian to the DMV to watch him take a driver's test.
Yeah, I cannot fathom having a dream like that. Can you imagine MLK going up to the post, you know, "I have a dream to go to a DMV and watch an Asian man drive." Yeah, that would not be a milestone in the shifting tides of how we perceive you know, the world, I guess. I don't know, I just thought that dream was really absurd, and it just made my mouth agape as he was saying it. But either way, that sets up our two B plots. I think our two plots in general. I think the A plot with Captain Hero is pretty much a low point of the episode. It's not as interesting as everything going on with Ling Ling. He just starts throwing a tantrum, like just beating stuff up. I do like that Toot was hiding the chocolate milk at all costs from him. That's why he was throwing a fit. He was like, "I need chocolate milk! I need it right now!"
I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you!
and she's just hiding it from him as he's destroying the house because she just can't get rid of her sweet nectar, which I thought that was decent. But then once the nanny actually gets there, I just stopped caring. Like, I just didn't care anymore because it just becomes, go sit in the corner, and it's just supposed to be funny because Captain Hero is a grown man listening to this woman tell him what to do, and we just get that for a very long time where he goes and sits in the corner. At one point he rips off Toot's arm and has to go sit in the corner. That was some good shock humor, I guess, because I didn't expect that at all. But other than that, it's just a pretty boring plotline because that goes on for like 13 minutes where he's just, oh, I gotta go sit in the corner, oh, I'm a good boy, oh gosh, oh, woo. So the pig takes Ling Ling to get the driver's test, and he passes the written portion, he passes everything, and then he actually goes to drive and he causes a major accident. And then we get to like some of the most racist stuff I've ever seen, where they take Ling Ling and they're trying to fix why he can't see what he's driving, and they take his eyes. And they're like, you know, they take Claire's eyes. And they're like, there's no way eyes or just being, having Asian ethnicity could make you a bad driver, right? And they go like this with them. And I'm just gonna play the clip again.
Akasawa!
Because, yeah, that's just abysmal what they were trying to show there. I can't believe that. And so the way they fix Ling Ling is they lift up his eyes, which gets rid of his Japanese. He no longer speaks Japanese. He only speaks English because his eyes are lifted up. Man, that is some of the most racist writing I've ever seen in any show ever. But Ling Ling starts going around changing every single Asian country to make their eyes lifted, which makes them basically into white people. And that's pretty much the plotline for that. Some of it was good, some of it was bad. It was all just pretty wonky. And eventually Captain Hero, he has to go in timeout again, and Super Nanny starts trying to do this whole like hostile takeover of the world thing, which was a bit odd to say the least, that she just randomly decided to be a villain and just, you know, criminalized every other villain. And at the same time, Ling Ling is supposed to give a speech about how he's changed every single Asian country. He's helped them all so much, until Godzilla shows up and he's just like, just saying that he's turning them all into white people and he shouldn't listen to that.
Jealous.
Which I thought was really funny because it's just Godzilla telling him it. I mean, what else do you need? It's Godzilla. What else do you need? Ling Ling eventually comes to his senses and decides to give this big speech about culture and all that good stuff, and makes them all realize that they're important people. I did love the ending for that portion of the story. I thought it was good. I thought it was impactful, you know, good stuff. And then Captain Hero goes to fight Super Nanny, just steps on her foot and tells her to go sit in the timeout corner, which frees all of her children slaves that she had been nannying, and they just rip her to shreds.
As the mini troopers tore Super Nanny limb from the...
Yeah, that was pretty wonky, pretty wild. That's pretty much the episode for you. If I was to rate this episode 1 to 10, I would probably give it a solid, you know, 6 out of 10 again. It didn't do anything that crazy for me that would want me to rank it any higher, but it wasn't bad by any means. I just thought all the Captain Hero stuff went on for so long. This is probably the shortest episode I've talked about in this video, just because I didn't know what to say. Like, again, it was just Captain Hero going and sitting in the timeout corner over and over again, and then eating his greens and being like, oh, I'm such a good boy. Like, I just don't really care. That was mainly where the episode dragged. Everything else was pretty decent. And that's gonna do it for my first impressions of Drawn Together. As always, if this video gets 2,000 likes, I will make a part 2 as soon as I possibly can. This show was way different than I thought it was gonna be. Everybody was making it sound like it was the most vulgar, offensive thing you could ever imagine. And yeah, it had its moments, but it did one thing right, and that was shock humor. At least when it tried. The characters are very charismatic. They actually, you know, fit a specific role. It's not just random jokes for the sake of having random jokes. It fits with their character, and I felt like the delivery most of the time was done well. I actually really liked the writing for the show. I know I gave 2 6 out of 10s, but that doesn't speak volumes to the show being bad by any means. It just probably wasn't my favorite episodes, and I could probably find some other really good ones. This show went on for a while. There was even a movie, so I guarantee you there's a lot of really good episodes out there, and I would love to revisit the show someday. I thought it was pretty fun. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like and subscribe. I got lots of good content on the way. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching. Bye. you.